Okay guys, I'm going to do a mighty walkthrough video for you here. And this is for new players. If you've played through Mighty 100 times, you might pick up a few tips, but I certainly wouldn't suggest walking through this whole video with me. I'm going to try to get all the boxes and everything in Mighty, but there's probably a better way to view that with a spreadsheet or something. And I don't intend to do any of the rifts on this. I have played through this enough to where I'm fairly familiar with it. If you kill most of the enemies, you will end up with about the right level to be able to complete the stuff, as long as you use the XP boxes that you find along the way. So you use all the XP that you find in the game, and you should be clear to do the whole thing without taking a break. So you can go straight through story with 4 characters, and you'll be around level 40 when you finish if you don't stop and do any rifts, if you use the stuff that you get out of the crates and everything on your way through. Okay, so the first thing I will point out, just in case anybody here is absolutely new to this, is that you got your 4 characters down there in the bottom left hand corner of the screen. You can use your directional pad to switch characters. As we attack enemies, you'll start to see a yellow line forming around your portrait. That is your EX gauge, and that allows you to do your EX attack, and that will be performed by pressing L and R at the same time. Okay, now the blue line on the bottom half of your portrait, that's your EP, or your energy. And as we do our special abilities, which you do by holding down R and pressing either Y, X, A, or B. Right now we only have RY, but you hold down R, press Y, you'll do an ability that'll use EP. The EP will passively regenerate, or if you use Y or X, or jump with B and use Y or X in the air, those are considered basic attacks. And if you use basic attacks, that will regenerate your EP as well, and is actually by far the best way to regenerate your EP. Okay, so the next button I want to talk about, I know this is a lot right here, but the L button is your block button. It does decrease damage quite a bit. Not only that, if you hold block and press a direction, you're going to dodge, or if you're running in a direction and press L, you're going to dodge. So one thing that I would suggest for dodging is that if you're running a direction and you dodge, go ahead and tap a jump on the end of that. That's going to keep you moving. If you try to dodge, there's an awkward pause in your movement, and oftentimes I find that you end up getting kind of stuck right in the edge of an enemy's AoE, and you take damage from that. So I would say use your roll, your dodge, and then tap jump on the end of that pretty much any time you're doing it. And it makes an okay way to get around. You can practice it just by running around like that. You might get kind of annoyed at your person going whoop, whoop, as they jump around. But other than that, it's a perfectly good way to travel. And it will kind of just burn it into your brain to get the jump on the end of the dodge. So there is one other thing I want to talk about with the block dodge button, and that is animation canceling. And I'll probably refer back to some of this as we go through the game. But if you hold down block while you're doing your basic attacks, like your light attack, it will cancel some of the animation on the end of it. This is not a good place right here for me to show you that, because there's too many enemies. I'm going to get interrupted, so I'll try to remember to show that to you later. But just take my word for it. If you're holding block, you will execute repetitions of those moves faster. In other words, if you do more than one of them, the second one will come faster, because it's going to cut some animation off the end. Now, this does not affect all heroes the same. Some heroes, there's barely any difference at all, or may not be any difference at all, while others it makes a significant difference. Star-Lord gets a pretty significant difference in his light and heavy attack, so you can try it out with him. If you're just standing in a vacant hall, you know, try doing his heavy attack as fast as you can, and then hold down L and do his heavy attack as fast as you can, which heavy attack is just X by itself. And you'll notice a huge difference in just X and holding down L and pressing X if you count out how many you're getting in a certain amount of time. Alright, that's called stagger. When the purple bar on the bottom is depleted. To deplete the purple bar on the bottom, what you really want to do is use heavy attacks as a rule. There's a few exceptions to that. Luke Cage has a really good stagger on his light attack. And then there's also charge moves, which is an ability. Now, L and R together is going to pop your EX. And you can see that does some pretty outstanding damage. You want to use that as a rule when the enemy is staggered. So when an enemy is staggered, that purple bar is depleted, they kind of stop attacking. If you use what's called a synergy attack, which is when you hold down ZR, you'll automatically do one of those. A synergy attack or an EX attack, they will go from being staggered to being stunned. And I'll show you a synergy attack right here. So you can see Star-Lord's portrait. It's because I'm holding ZR. When I combine Gamora's Slam with Star-Lord's Whirlwind, you get that extra damage. That's called a synergy, and that will take an enemy from staggered to stunned. And just the slam by itself looks like this, which is still good, but it's missing that damage component. The stagger, not the stagger, the synergy damage is the yellow number you see. So you'll be able to tell how much difference it makes by looking for that yellow number. Let's see if I can get somebody up here. Here we go. Well, didn't see the yellow number. We'll have plenty of time to look at yellow numbers later. Of course, you want to pick up those blue orbs anytime you can. If you see a giant blue orb, just a piece of advice is go ahead and use your abilities until you can't use them anymore, then pick up the giant blue orb. Because they completely refill you, so the best thing to do is get empty first. No sense in not getting the full refill. Alright, one interesting thing about Rocket and Groot that I'll point out, since he's on our team right now and probably will not be anymore after I have the ability to change him out. I'm not great at Rocket Groot. His playstyle is different from any other character in this game. He is really good if you use him well, but I'm not the best at playing Rocket Groot. He can use his light attack and his heavy attack at the same time. And he's the only character who can do that, because the light attack is coming from Rocket, and that's it right there. And then the heavy attack comes from Groot, which is right there, so he can do those both at the same time. You have to hold down Y, and then you have to tap X. So it really helps if you have like a Pro Controller or something to do that with, if you're going to use that technique. A player called Daz is very good at Rocket Groot, and he knows all the ins and outs. He's got a guide on Discord with all kinds of tips for Rocket Groot, and they're probably going to, hands down, easily be the best tips you will find for that character. I don't know anybody else who plays him at that level. We got our EXs all charged up. We don't need them right now. It's going to be handy in just a second. We want to avoid standing in those red circles, obviously. I like using Star-Lord for this because he can put a tornado in that thing. And then he can also attack it himself. It kind of lets you double up on damage a little bit. Now you'll notice as you go through this game that a lot of the time when you change areas, you're going to get a free refill. Like if you just notice right there, we got a free refill on health and energy and everything. So that is really helpful. I'm going to be skipping the cutscenes. I'm sure you guys don't want to watch cutscenes. Okay, we got Ronan here, and different places in this game, he's quite a beast. Want to get him staggered, and then we want to put some damage on him, and that tornado is not helping me at all right here. It's supposed to be a synergy attack with Drax, but it doesn't help if the tornado's on the opposite side of the enemy. Your attack has to go through the tornado to hit the target for it to give you synergy damage. If you don't see the yellow numbers, you're not getting it. There we go. See, it's getting it this time. You see the yellow numbers. That's the synergy damage. And that was from holding ZR and performing his skill. More or less, you just want to avoid that attack. He's got another attack where he does something very similar, but the circle is small. We'll probably see that at some point. I think in his second stage he'll do it. And when he does the small circle version of that, you want to just start running, because when he does the small circle version, he rains down damage from the air. Here it comes. Okay. Don't get close to any of your other teammates, because they're going to have circles aimed at them too. And I think in this part of the game it's not such a big deal, but later on in some of the rifts and stuff, if you get hit by that, it just destroys your health bar immediately, like literally one shot some characters. I'm going to get him staggered, and then we're just going to EX him.
Whoever you're afraid of, Ronan, we can help you fight them.
He's clearly not a team player, Gamora. Let's show him what he's missing.
Alright, that is the Kree ship. Hope you guys enjoyed.